Libra, welcome to your February horoscope. My name is Adeana. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be going over all of the energy you will be navigating for the month of February 2026. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Let's get right into it. So, I do break these monthly horoscopes down by week, and I select a chart for each week to give you a bit of a visual. So, week one, as soon as we come into February on the 1st, we've got the full moon in Leo at 13 degrees. This is going to be our last lunation in Leo for 2 years. That's not an eclipse. So, we do want to kind of take advantage of that because the next few lunations in Leo will be either a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse and will trigger some massive changes. Now, you have Leo in your 11th house of friends and friendships and social groups and social circles and online connections. So, this is where that area of life is going to be lit up for you. On the 3rd, we have Uranus stationing direct. This is in your 8th house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing and transformation is in the 8th house. Secrets are in the 8th house. There's quite a lot packed in there. Also, intimacy is in the 8th house. However, with Uranus, the Uranus station, we may not feel really on an individual level. I think it'll be felt more collectively. Now, on the 5th, we've got Mercury forming a square to Uranus. This is in Mercury's in your 5th. So you've got all this energy in your 5th house of children, creativity, your passions, your hobbies, your interests, what you do for fun, the sports you're interested in. The 5th house also is romance. So I say dating is in the 5th house. Marriage and one-on-one connections are in the 7th, but I put dating in the 5th because um it's romance. It's how you approach romance, how you express romance. And usually when you're dating, you're not like too serious. Once you become serious, then it moves to the 7th house. But anyways, there's a lot of focus on that. So there's a lot of focus on kids, children, maybe working with children, maybe even starting some creative projects. Now, as we move through the month, the energy is going to shift from your 5th house into your 6th house. But at the time of this Mercury square Uranus, there might be like some type of sudden conversation or information coming in that triggers something that you're having to navigate. I mean, Mercury is the ruler of your 9th house and your 12th house. So the 9th house rules travel, school, like higher knowledge or college, university. The 9th house rules astrology or belief systems, religion. So I mean, let's say you were planning to travel, which I don't recommend traveling at this time just because there's a lot of weird weather stuff going on. Like I think with this Mars Uranus kind of energy, especially with Neptune being in Aries now, and then Saturn's going to enter Aries, and Mars is the ruler of Aries. This month we're in for some really weird weather, which I think we're going to see, and I think it's going to amp up as we move through the month, like storms and stuff like that. Power outages, I think, is going to be a thing because of that Uranus Mars square that we have at the end of the month. Um, but yeah, this can just bring in some like really sudden conversation, maybe something with around it, your kids, like if you have children, or maybe information around a creative project or just something that's unexpected, maybe a little bit disruptive. And sometimes it's not like a huge disruption. Sometimes something can just come in and it's not necessarily negative or positive, but it's just like, okay, you know. On the 6th, we've got Mercury entering Pisces. And you have, again, Pisces it is in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. And so the focus will shift into that house as we move through the month. Um, on the 8th, we've got Venus squaring Uranus. So Venus is your chart ruler. So you feel this a little bit more so than the other signs. Venus square Uranus can bring anxiety. It can bring up stuff with the nervous system because Uranus does rule the electrical systems in our body. So this could be a day where maybe you are experiencing a little bit more anxiety or yeah, your nervous system is like a little wonky. Um, what else? I was thinking, something just came to me too, like, you know how, and I know this wouldn't be for all of you, but you know how like certain parts of your body, like go numb. like that could totally be a thing here. Like, and what's the circulation? That's what I'm thinking of. The circulation in your body, can also like be a thing with this, with Uranus. And just Venus being your chart ruler, literally ruling you. So it does affect your physical body. And yeah, and I don't know why that came to me to say. I mean, I know it can be a thing, but maybe there's somebody that's going to watch that is experiencing that and be like, oh, now I know it makes sense. So I just have to say it. All right, let's get into the second week. So on the 10th, we've got Venus entering Pisces, which Venus will move into your sixth house, which brings more focus here to health. Again, maybe it has to do with some, that the stuff going on with your body or whatever, and then you become a little bit more proactive with your eating, or maybe you start to do yoga, maybe you start to stretch, maybe you start to get the blood flowing in your body a little bit more. And that could even have to do with these nodes being in the seventh and or the sixth and the 12th house. The North Node being in the sixth house, which it's been there since January 2025. Maybe you have been getting a little bit more serious about your nutrition. Um, on the 11th, we've got Mercury entering shadow. So Mercury enters shadow once Mercury hits the degree point that Mercury is going to retrograde back to. And that's when we want to start to pay attention to what is coming in around information conversations, because that can give us an idea of what we will be revisiting at this time. For you, it possibly could have to do with your health because it is in that sixth house of health. It could have to do with work because it's one of your work houses. The labor you put into work's in the sixth, and the career is in the 10th. It could have to do with pets. It could have to do with nutrition habits, just anything around your day-to-day routine. On the 12th, we've got Mercury forming a conjunction to the North Node. And I like when the planets conjunct the nodes because it's usually a day where something comes in that's quite insightful. And it may seem insignificant at the time, but it ends up being quite significant down the road. So this is a day you want to pay attention to any conversations you're having or anything that is showing up around information, conversations, thoughts, intuitive downloads, those types of things. On the 13th, we've got Saturn entering Aries. And so, I mean, Saturn being in your seventh house over the next couple of years is going to bring a lot of change when it has to do with relationships. Make sure you check out my Saturn-Neptune forecast where I get into all 12 rising signs because I go pretty deep into this energy. Now, having Neptune in the seventh house, if we touch on Neptune for a minute, Neptune can sometimes make us see people with rose-colored glasses. We're not seeing people clearly. We have to deal with deception. We have to deal with um, idealizing people. Like those are all things that can happen with Neptune in the seventh. Having Saturn here, though, Saturn is hopefully going to make a few things known first. So then after Saturn leaves, that energy becomes a little bit easier. Like maybe you start to see people. Um, Saturn will bring a lot of things to light first and lay the groundwork so that there's solid boundaries that are created and established before for this whole Neptune thing, which is nice because I'm Virgo rising. So I had Neptune in the seventh house for the last 14 years. And after Saturn entered a couple years ago, having Saturn in that seventh house, everyone that I was not seeing clearly, like Saturn really brought all of that to the surface and to light. So anything that I was navigating around people and deception and seeing people with rose-colored glasses, Saturn really made things known where, yes, you were seeing things. Yes, that was correct. You were seeing people with rose-colored glasses, and this is what was going on, and this is what these people were doing. And so it'll be nice to just have Saturn there at the beginning of the transit instead of the end. And hopefully you establish some solid boundaries with that. All right. Now, the third week of February on the 16th, we've got the sun squaring Uranus. And so this is a time again where we can be dealing with just, I mean, you can get some sudden epiphanies and insights with the sun connecting to Uranus, but this could be a day where, I mean, the sun is your 11th house ruler. There could be something unexpected going on with a friend or a social group that you're connected to. Um, I think this is where we're going to see like another something maybe with the weather with this. We also have Mercury forming a trine to Jupiter as well. And this is where we can get some really positive support. I personally think this is going to be a little bit more internal. Like there's something internally that we are navigating better based on some type of shift or something that's coming in. Um, and honestly, whether it's just like, you know, how you could be struggling with something for months and then all of a sudden there's just this shift and you're like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna handle this way. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Like, that's what I feel like this can be. On the 17th, we've got the solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees. And so the nodes are eventually going to, in July, enter your fifth and your 11th house, which I will be posting a separate forecast going into this energy a lot deeper. But the nodes are very faded, very karmic. They represent where we're having the eclipses. And where we have the nodes transiting in our birth chart shows where there's going to be massive changes, whether it is psychologically, physically, mentally, emotionally, like there is going to be some type of change here. And so the North Node is going to enter your fifth house of children, creativity, passion, romance. And the South Node is going to enter your 11th house of friends and friendships and social circles. So those areas of life will be going through some type of change. The North Node represents a new journey, a new direction we're moving into. And the South Node represents something that we're letting go or even something coming back from the past. So at this time, the whole month of February, because it's not just this day, it's usually a few weeks prior and a few weeks after whatever we're navigating is being activated by that eclipse. And we'll show you what you're going to be moving through the next 2 years. So we definitely want to pay attention the entire month of February to what is coming in for us, because that can give us an idea of kind of the story that's playing out the next 2 years and what we will be navigating. This is something I've literally tracked a lot. And one thing I've noticed is that these nodes bring in some type of like story. And every time we get an eclipse in that area of life, there's like more to that story showing up. There's more change to whatever it is that we're navigating. Um, so yeah, just kind of pay attention to what is showing up. And for you, this will have to do with, you know, children or creative pursuits or romance, your hobbies, and then again, friends. And then on that day also too, we've got the Venus conjunction to the North Node. And because Venus is your chart ruler, I think this is really powerful. I think this is where there can be a sudden like epiphany or something positive coming in to really help with the new direction that you've been moving in this area of life when it has to do with your work, your health, and your daily routine. And then on the 18th, we've got the sun entering Pisces. And then on the 20th, we've got that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So again, we're all going through a reset. We're all going through a rebirth in our own way. For you, it's in the seventh house. There's just a lot that's going to change around like you and your one-on-one connections and maybe boundaries. I think you may find, Libra, that over the next couple of years, you really establish some powerful boundaries when it has to do with you and your one-on-one connections. You start to become very aware of the relationships in your life where you've been maybe giving too much, where there has not been balance. I think that's going to become really known. Now, we want to remember that Saturn is the planet of maturity. Saturn is the planet of responsibility. Saturn can bring limitation. And if we fight against it, it becomes a lot harder. And so and Saturn doesn't like to be in Aries, it's at fallen Aries. But the thing with this is that the one thing I like with Saturn in the seventh house, and also too, like it can also show up like you could possibly get married over the next couple of years because that's a thing too. Like a lot of people that have Saturn transiting in the seventh house get married because Saturn rules commitment, right? So a lot of people get married, but then in some cases, some people get divorced. Like it really depends. It's just when we have these changes, it all depends on our own personal birth chart, and it all depends on our own journey that we're on, right? So it can show up in many ways. It's just what's in alignment with you and your life. Now, on the 22nd, we've got Venus forming a trine to Jupiter, which I love because I feel like this is just something kind of nice and beautiful and supportive in the mix of chaos. And this is Venus, your chart ruler, forming a trine to Jupiter retrograde in your 10th. So this could be something positive showing up around your work and career. This could be something positive showing up around something that you're processing, something that you've been navigating internally because of Jupiter being retrograde. Then we get to the final week of February, and on the 25th, we've got Mercury stationing retrograde. And so Mercury is going to retrograde in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. So again, there might be something that you're having to revisit or reevaluate. over whatever was activated kind of earlier in the month, whether it is health or related or has to do with pets, but there is going to be something here that you're reevaluating. Um, Mercury also, which I said kind of rules your ninth and your 12th house too. So there could be something around ninth house and 12th house themes and topics that you're having to revisit or reevaluate too. Again, you'll get a better idea, paying attention to kind of what is showing up throughout the month. On the 27th, we're going to have the sun form a conjunction to the North Node. This is really beautiful. This is a time where we want to pay attention to kind of what is coming in the nodes, the lunar nodes primarily work with the sun and the moon. And so it is beautiful when we have the planets conjunct to the nodes because that is usually when there's something coming in. Like when we're dealing with the nodes, sometimes things can happen because this is just a day event, right? Like Venus conjunct the North Node, the sun conjunct the North Node. But the nodes primarily work with the sun and the moon. So when we have the sun form a conjunction to the North or South Node, or even the moon twice a month form a conjunction to the North Node or the South Node, this is where something can come in, whether it's insight or whether it's a conversation or whether it's some type of information, and it may seem insignificant at in the time, but later on be quite significant. We want to pay attention to, those things and kind of what is showing up because they can tend to be of aid down the road. Now, on the 27th, we also have the Mars square to Uranus. So I do think this is where we can have another weather event. There can be power outages. Personally, this could have something to do with a relationship because Mars is the ruler of that seventh house. There could be something really sudden around a one-on-one connection. There could be something very disruptive around a one-on-one connection. So it is a day just to be a bit mindful of. Because it is coinciding with the sun conjunct the North Node. I do think whatever is activated, it is to push us on a better path forward. On the 28th, we've got Venus conjunct Mercury retrograde. And so this is where we do want to watch for miscommunication, whether you're being misunderstood or kind of misunderstanding what somebody else is saying. If you are having a deep conversation with anyone, this is where you can just really feel that Mercury retrograde energy because Venus is your chart ruler. So there is something that you are truly just having to like sit with, reevaluate, revisit, um, just kind of gain your bearings again, get your footing and move forward with whatever is activated at this time. Like maybe you're having a hard conversation, and I would say just kind of sit with it first before you act. Just sit with it, let things settle before you act. Um, I see just a lot of and even too, like I'm feeling intuitively, um, there's a lot of processing going on, like whether it's emotional processing or processing something within a relationship. And so I don't know why that came to me, but yeah, I obviously had to say that because one of you needed to hear it, but I do see like a lot of processing going on and maybe just sitting with things for a bit first and letting things kind of settle before acting. If there is some type of a conversation happening at the time of this Venus, like around the 28th, I would say just make sure you're completely understanding what is going on. Like make sure you're understanding what the person's saying, or make sure the person is understanding you clearly, because there can be quite a lot of miscommunication with this. Now, on the 28th, we also have Mars activating the eclipse point. So we have that eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius, and then we're going to have Mars move over that eclipse point and activate it. I put it in here because I think, for one, this could be something collectively, more so individually. But if there was something that you were experiencing throughout the month with the eclipse, this could just be another activation of it, something else coming in that you're having to just address. I think that a lot of this Mars square to Uranus is going to be like power outages and more around riots, people standing up for their rights and freedoms and kind of what we're seeing, like, the stuff going on in Minnesota or storms, odd weather stuff. All right, Libra. Well, I hope this helps you navigate the month ahead. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content, and I'll connect with you in the next one.